Hey guys, how goes it? This is Brad Bowles bringing you guys a chess video, a chess lesson. I ended up getting this book a couple weeks ago, about 3-4 weeks ago, and it's called Chess: The Art of Logical Thinking by Neil MacDonald, I believe it is. I could be wrong. And in this book, I didn't finish the book yet, but I ended up coming across I ended up skimming through a couple games, and there was one game in particular, this game I'm about to show you guys, that really just caught my eye and kind of is really underrated, not really talked a lot of in the chess community whatsoever. So the lesson I'm going to pass on you guys is going to be extremely valuable to you guys. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm just going to, I know it's a bold statement, but I'm going to go ahead and just say it right now. If you guys don't agree with me, then by all means send a master to this video. Send anybody who's a higher rated player than me, which is a lot of people, don't get me wrong, this video, and ask them to see if I am wrong about this lesson. But anyways, so we're just going to get right down to it anyway. So if you're a beginner, this lesson is going to be really valuable to you. This is something you should pick up and definitely just implement into all your chess strategies whatsoever. If you're an intermediate level, pretty much the same story. If you guys aren't doing this now, you guys should be doing this here in the future, or at least, it's not really should, but you really should in a sense. And if you're a master, you guys should be doing this already, but if you're not, this is a breath of fresh air. So we're gonna get right to it right now. Playing as white is Grandmaster Nunn. Now this game happened in 1986, I believe, so about 35 years ago. Yeah, 35 years ago. So Grandmaster Nunn, N-U-N-N, I'm going to call it Nunn just for the sake of the video. I don't know the correct pronunciation. And we have Grandmaster Sokolov, which again, I don't know the correct pronunciation. We're going to go with Sokolov for the sake of the video. So in this game, Nunn ends up going with E4 and Sokolov with C5, the traditional Sicilian defense, which is a good popular defense, pretty commonly seen. And then yeah, he goes for the D4 push, and Sokolov takes the pawn, and then Nunn recaptures. Sokolov pushes out his knight. Now, in this position right here, there's a lot of variations where this knight ends up taking this knight, but Nunn doesn't do that. Instead, he ends up developing still. He doesn't want to keep exchanging, and what's the rush into the end game, really? What's the rush into the game? We don't need to get there right now. We will get there soon. No taking the pieces right now. We're not going to do that. So Sokolov ends up pushing over A6, the A6 pawn, which, in my opinion, at first, does seem a little bit slow, but there is a purpose to it. We will get down to that here in a second. So he ends up going A6, and Nunn continues to develop with bishop to E2. So now, next move, or pretty much whenever he wants to, Nunn can castle. Nunn can castle into safety pretty much whenever he wants to. So after this, Sokolov ends up pushing D6. Now, this move I wasn't really too big of a fan of, but again, this is Grandmasters we're talking about, by the way. So any opinions that I pass on about any of these players is pretty much null and void, because, it's a nobody like me critiquing a Grandmaster. Come on now. So he ends up going with the D6 push, and Nunn ends up going for the developing move still. Ends up going with the bishop E3. So I guess before I should have stated that in this position right here, he's going for a more defensive play, as black should go as anyway. He's not going to be going aggressive, pushing the pawns forward or anything. Right now, he has a good hedgehog formation, good formation of defense. But okay, so continuing on, he goes for the bishop to E3 move, and Sokolov, I believe, goes for the queen to C7, which that is why he ended up pushing this A6 pawn here in the future, in the past, a little bit ago, is because he didn't want any of these two knights to jump over, to jump over and hit the queen. He did not want that whatsoever. So he ended up putting that A6 pawn right there to avoid any of that shenanigans. And then after that, let me pull up my phone here, because unfortunately I don't have the physical copy, I only have a digital copy. So he ends up putting the queen there. That's right, okay. After that, then Nunn goes for F4, which at first I mean, a lot of people, when it comes to chess tips, chess advice, a lot of people always say don't move the f pawn. But in this case, Nunn is kind of announcing something that he is going for a king side attack. He is announcing, I am going to get your king, pretty much. And Sokolov follows up with knight to a5, which is not a bad move whatsoever, but it's just not addressing the issue of what's going on. That he just pushed the pawn this way, kind of announcing, I mean, it's pretty much everything but vocally announcing, I am coming this way to get your king, by the way. And he's kind of just moving his knight over to the end, by the way, to a5, right, of all spots. But, okay, regardless, getting off topic, Nunn castles. And this accomplishes two things. One, the obvious one, it gets his king to safety to g1. Awesome. And two, is that it now has his rook on a future open file. That's awesome. And we're going to take advantage of that here in a little bit. But Sokolov ends up moving his knight a third time. He moved his knight a third time, and I believe we're only on like move 8. This is move 8. And this move, it's not bad, but again, I have to go back and say that it's not really addressing the issue of the kingside attack. But we're going to see that here in a second. Anyway, but okay, just we're going to skip this for now and go back to Nunn's move, which is that he's just going to simply take the knight. The knight moved 1, 2, 3 moves, and now it's just gone. So that knight wasted all that time traveling from the b8 square to c6 to a5 to c4, and it's all just wasted, all gone. And Sokolov replies with taking the bishop. Awesome. I mean, it seems pretty logical that bishop wasn't being guarded by anything, so he takes it. And right here is where you kind of just gotta pause, look at the board, and really analyze to see who has the better position here. Is that we are now on move 9, I believe, 9 or 10. Nunn is already castled. Nunn has 1, 2, 3, 4, about to be 4, and 5. I'm counting the queen because not only could she be some influence and have some influence on the D file once this knight moved, but she also does have the D1 to H5 diagonal open, so she can be pretty influential and flexible there. So we are going to count her in this position, in this equation. And Sokolov, he ended up moving a piece too many times, and at the moment he only has one good queen out there. I mean, it's a pretty nice queen to have out there on c4. The c4 square is a really nice square, especially for a queen. But at the same time, it's not really doing anything at the moment. So anyways, I'm going to follow up with, what was the next move? F5, that's right. He just kept pushing this pawn. And what this states is that he is now fighting for the file to be open. He wants his rook to have some power on the F file, and he can't do that with his own pawn in the way, and at the sense, like I said earlier, that he's going for a kingside attack. How can he do a kingside attack? By attacking the kingside, duh. And I mean, yeah, he can take, but then he'll take and whatnot. It will just be pretty chaotic if he starts taking recklessly. So he ends up going for the bishop to e7 spot. He realizes that the battle for the F file is now starting to occur, and he has to get his bishop right here to protect any pushes from like f6 or anything. But how does Nunn react to this thing? He ends up going for, what was it? I want to say I got it right. I just don't want to mess up this order. That's right. Okay, he does go queen to g4. Queen to g4. Now attacking the g7 pawn, defending the f5 pawn from being recklessly taken by anything he doesn't want it to be taken by. But as I said before, attacking this G7 pawn, which now if he really wants to defend, because I mean once the queen goes here, then look at that, free rook. But if he doesn't want, if he wants to prevent that, he's gonna have to like push a pawn, or I don't know. Sokolov ends up responding with H5, pushing the queen, taking the queen away from this file. I mean, he doesn't really have any safe squares to go. If he goes here, take by the pawn. If he goes here, bishop, stays, pawn, and staying right here. I mean, going down to G3 isn't that big of a, it's okay. But he ends up going to F3. Now, don't get me wrong, F3 is a nice square. The queen is pretty happy in F3. Not too bad so far. But now, Sokolov ends up coming up with, it was the bishop to F6. This move, again, go back a little bit ago what I just said about moving multiple pieces multiple times. He moved that knight 1, 2, 3 times, and those moves are gone. He ended up moving the queen 1, 2 times, and she's not really doing anything. I mean, like I said before, that the C4 square is a nice square, but she's not doing anything at the moment. We have a kingside attack going on. Nunn is kind of focusing over here, and Sokolov instead has a queen that has no job, has no purpose being over here. So he ends up putting the bishop right here, having to move it a second time, because he was sort of forced to, the thing, because another common strategy when it comes to opening files like that is that he needs to clog up the file. By clogging up the file, it's kind of slow him down. Kind of slow Nunn down here in a sense, but we're just going to continue on anyway. So he ends up going for the bishop to F6. Yes, bishop F6, and then what was it? Okay, F pawn takes the E pawn. I'm going to keep on pushing with those pawns. It's going to be really relentless. And of course, Sokolov recaptures. And right here, kind of realizes that he's going to be in some sort of danger coming up, because after that, we ended up having, yes, that pawn takes that pawn, yes. Oh, he is going to push another pawn. Why not? What's really wrong with that? I'm going to be attacking the bishop, because if he takes or runs away, then he's going to leave the whole F file wide open for an attack, wide open for a checkmate, whatever maybe is coming. It's going to be really dangerous if this bishop gets taken or has to move. So he has to recapture, or not recapture, but take that E pawn, which now he is attacking the knight. But I mean, downside is that he has 2 pawns right here, but ignore that for now, Right now, he is attacking this knight. Now, here's where the lesson starts to begin to snowball. Is the thing is that most of the time, whenever a player kind of has a piece that is being threatened by a pawn specifically, if a piece is being threatened, you genuinely, truly want to move that piece out of the way. It would bother you if you don't move the piece out of the way, because then, yeah, you could use that piece in the game, but you don't want it to be taken, blah, blah, blah. It's just obvious that you don't want to get that piece taken right away. But in this sense, Sokolov ignores that threat, ignores the threat of his knight being taken, and he pushes his knight there. Now, why would he do that? I'm going to turn this around, kind of bugging me. But he pushes his knight right here. Now, why is that? Isn't he just going to lose the knight anyway? Isn't he just going to lose the knight like this? No. And there's one good reason why he isn't going to do that, and that is because if he took that knight just like that, then Nunn can just go there with that other knight and go check and fork the queen. So yeah, he would get a knight. Awesome, he'd get a knight. But then he would lose the queen when he comes to a royal fork check. So, Sokolov cannot prioritize his attack on that knight. So he ends up seeing this. He ends up seeing that fork attack, and he decides, oh man, I gotta get back. And finally, after about, how many moves has it been? I have it written down in my notes. About 9-10 moves. 9-10 moves of his queen just being out here not doing anything. And now she's gonna come up here to defend this back rank because, yeah, come on, dude. He's coming for the kingside attack. Finally, his queen can at least join in the defense. So he ends up doing that, and when you're right here, I believe, I think I have the next move known. I just want to make sure. Okay, yes. Oh, okay. So, again, back to what I just said is that this pawn is threatening this knight. And again, now we have to do something about that, right? No, we are going to leave that knight there, is the thing. We are going to leave this knight here, and we're going to put the queen on g3. Before, that was a decent square, but look at this now. This now does 3 things. Now pause the video and by all means try and take a scan at seeing what the 3 things that this does. So the first one is pretty obvious, is that it gets the queen out of the rook's way. It is now surrendering the f-file to just that rook. So, okay. Then the second thing is that it takes over the g-file, which is, again, awesome. And the third most important thing is that it pins this pawn to that queen. So if Sokolov takes this pawn, Nunn can just take that queen for free. So, again, for a second move, or third move, I don't remember how many moves, but for another move back to back in a row, he can ignore this pawn attacking that knight. So, what do you do when you're right here? I believe Sokolov ended up going for, oh, yes. Sokolov ended up pushing, what did he pushed one or the other. I forgot the order of this. I don't want to get that too messed up. Yes, E7, okay. So he brings up the knight to E7, and, I mean, it does accomplish the fact that now he can castle, but at the same time, is it really worth it to castle at the moment? But, okay, the second reason why he moved that knight is that he prevented the queen coming to G6, delivering a check, and then just absolutely wrecking everything from there. Having the queen on G6 would just be way too scary for him. Yeah, with the knight right here, he's preventing that. So, good, okay, we're good. So Sokolov then, not Sokolov, Nunn ends up doing a pretty nice solid move. See if you guys can guess it. See if you guys can pause the video and try to guess it. Is that we had an open file right here. You guys see a second one is the thing? Because I do with rook to D1. So right here on this side of the king, this side of the king, 2 really good central knights, a bishop, a queen right here. If your mouth is not watering by this position, you guys are not comprehending how good of a chess position this is. This is just fantastic. So after this, Sokolov pushes the H4 pawn, the H pawn again, because now he wants to kick this queen out of this pin. He wants to relieve this pin, so then he can take that knight. At this moment, I'm thinking that Sokolov was just kind of thinking way too offensively rather than defensively, is that he just sees these 2 rooks guarding both sides. He has a moment where he could at least, like, I don't know, push his bishop right here into play and then castle queenside or something, getting his king into safety, but instead he's going to leave his king kind of in the middle of the board. I don't really understand that. to be honest. But this is a grandmaster we're talking about, and I'm not even close to grandmaster level. So, what does my critique really mean? Do anything about this? So yeah, if anything, ignore that and answer the question. I don't know. But anyways, he ends up pushing this H pawn, threatening the queen. Now you have two pieces being threatened. You have your knight being threatened by a pawn, and you have a queen being threatened by a pawn. Now, again, earlier when I said that you have one piece being threatened, most players tend to be uncomfortable and want to move those pieces, right? Especially if you have two pieces, especially if one of those pieces happens to be your strongest piece, aka your queen. How does Nunn respond to this, though, this kind of blew my mind, is the thing. This was awesome. Is that he took the bishop with that knight and went check. That was awesome, is because he has his knight and his queen. Again, I have to go over that. His knight and his queen both being threatened. And instead of prioritizing their safety, he goes for a check. So, obviously, I mean, he's not going to move his king out of the direction the D8 or F8 squares or anything, because then all he has to do is just move the knights and then he's in check again. That would just be stupid. So obviously he has to retake with the F pawn. I mean, with the G pawn, now the F pawn. And now, what that did for him is free up G7. And that accomplishes also two things, three things in a sense. Well, the first one, obviously, being getting his queen to safety to another safe square, obviously. Okay, the second one is also an obvious one. It is that his queen is attacking the H8 rook, which anybody should be able to see that. Come on now. But the third thing is that it gives him time. It gives him time to dismantle this pawn structure, which is also pretty dang solid at the moment. But anyways, he has to move his rook into safety, and there are a bunch of variations I've seen where Sokolov does put his rook right here into G8 attacking. I have seen a couple of variations. I'm not going to go over them right now because that would just mean I have to reset up the board and whatnot. And for timing issues, I'm just going to go with the main variation on how they did it. And really, those variations, I believe Sokolov worked those out. I mean, come on, he's a grandmaster. He had to have. So he instead had to go for a safer move and having to go for the F8 square, be protected by the king, and also with this pawn and with this rook protecting this F6 pawn. Now, what do you do when you're Nunn is the thing. You've been kind of implementing a very aggro, very aggressive playstyle is the thing. At this moment, bam! Seriously, comes up here with the rook and attacks this rook is the thing. He can't leave that unattended. He has to retake it. If he didn't, then the queen would come up there for checkmate. So he ended up taking that rook and a pawn for the price of just one rook. That's the thing. Now, let's just pause right here and just take a quick glance at exactly what happened. About move, I think it was like move 7 or 8, Nunn pretty much looked up from the board and everything but vocally announced, hey, I'm coming for a kingside attack. And now look at the kingside as the thing. The kingside is completely wiped off the board. He successfully did what he needed to do or wanted to do in the first place, and that was to destroy the kingside. He ended up doing what he wanted to do. And now Sokolov is just really right now in big trouble. And this whole time, his knight has been threatened that whole time, and for an instant, his queen was even threatened. He ignored that the whole time. Okay, so right here, Sokolov goes for D6, I believe it is If it's not d6, it's d7, I believe. I want to say it's d6, but I could be wrong. Okay, yes. Yes, it is queen d6. Okay, gotcha. He's going for a queen d6 move now. So then, I mean, what else can he really do at the moment? He could bring out his bishop and castle, but he needs to defend. He needs to have defenders and whatnot all over these other pieces. He can't just leave them unattended and let Nunn kind of come in here and mess up everything like that. So he comes in. I mean, there's not really much else explanation to that move, I think. So now is where you can move your knight, right? Now you can get your knight into safety, right? No, because where would it go? If it goes here, he loses the rook. Right. So pretty much if this knight moves anywhere, if it goes any square right now, then the rook's gone. So obviously the knight is now kind of stuck. Whether it's being threatened or not, it's just stuck. I believe that is called a skewer or a pin. Pin, yeah, because the back piece is the higher and the higher valued one. So after he puts his queen over to d6, he's going to ignore the threat again of a pawn and go for bishop e5. Now, the thing that it accomplishes here, you have a checkmating square. Your queen can come right here and deliver checkmate. Now, I know his queen, right? I know this queen is kind of preventing that from happening, but that's the thing, is that the queen now has to stay on guard of this e7 square. Otherwise, the game's over. If the queen goes anywhere else, if the queen comes up here, or comes not way down here, if it just gets off the diagonal or the rank, or if it loses access to the e7 square, it's game over. So, how he prevents that? I believe, I want to say he ended up moving his bishop finally. I could be wrong. Okay. Takes f6, yep, e6, g5. Oh, okay, I thought this happened like, I don't know, 2 turns from now, but I guess it happened right now. Is that finally he loses the knight. After about 10 moves, or it was like 9 moves of that knight being threatened, finally he takes that knight after so long. How does he respond to that is the thing. How does Nunn respond to a knight being taken? He takes that pawn with his rook. And now it is guarded by the queen. And now this rook is attacking the queen is the thing. So if he moves out of the way, then it'll be checkmate, and it's just gonna be really nasty for this queen to just sit there. So he can't lose it, but the thing he can do is block it. Okay, well, what's stopping him from doing that again? Pushing that rook, taking that knight. Well, aren't you just gonna lose it to a pawn? Isn't the pawn just gonna come and take that? No, because if he does that, this queen is going to just take that queen, just like that. This pawn is protecting black's queen from white's queen. And the rook is attacking this queen. So you're also thinking, okay, well, what if the queen just takes the rook? Well, we've been over that, is the thing. Over that is that the queen just come here and checkmate. So right after that move, right after the rook taking the knight, after the rook taking the knight move, Sokolov ended up resigning. He goes right here. Yeah, he was right there. So Sokolov ended up resigning right here. And I just kind of wanted, at this point, that's kind of where I saw the lesson that I wanted to implement, is that this whole time, can you guys notice one thing about this board thing? These two pieces whole game have not moved whatsoever. Earlier in the game, there was plenty of times, not plenty of times, but a small handful of times where Sokolov could have pushed this bishop out here at least. It was blocked in from his e6 move from way earlier. I think it was like his f pawn taking his e6. I don't remember, but regardless, he could have moved his bishop over here and then castled queenside, and it wouldn't make things much better, or I mean that much better, but better than the situation he's in now. So that's the thing, is that if you have your pieces all out on the board, if you guys have all of your pieces out on the board, where was it? Right here, actually, sorry. And they are all working together fluently, regardless if your pieces are being attacked or not, there could be a better move if you have your pieces all working correctly. Pretty much just like that, is you want to make the move of losing your pieces seem like a bad thing to them. Because right here, like we just said earlier, I mean, if Sokolov took that knight at any point in the game, there was multiple punishments. Is that okay? Yeah, he'd lose a knight, but then he'd also be attacking the king side more and more and more. I don't. We go back in the video for that part. And if he takes the knight and the rook right here, then we just lose to the queen. So that's kind of been the whole thing about this video, is that yeah, when the piece is being threatened, you generally do want to move it out of the way or something. But is it really that bad if it gets taken? Is the thing. Is it really that bad if it gets taken? Most cases, yeah, it is kind of bad. But like I just said again and again and again, is that you want to make the pieces not really want to be taken, but you want to have a good punishment, a good backup plan for when it does happen. And by all means, maybe I'm wording this all really wrong and weird, like, I don't know, it's kind of my first chess lesson for all we know. If anything, I might read this video and retell it in a different way. Maybe I can actually read off the book or something. Maybe you guys can kind of understand what I'm talking about in a different sense. I'm looking at the game, watching the video sense. But anyways, that's pretty much it for now. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave it down in the comment section below. I'll be happy to read them all, and I will try and get them all. I might be doing this again soon. I'm not really sure. This was kind of just on the spot, is the thing. Maybe I might put up some videos, like some opening videos, opening courses, kind of going through the various openings. I can go over some of my old games, tournament games. I can probably hold some tournaments in the future. I don't know. That's getting off topic, off tangent right now. Anyways, like I said, if you guys like the video, please like, subscribe, comment down below, ring the bell for notifications. You guys know the whole deal. But regardless, no pressure. I don't really care whatsoever. But anyways, okay, enough wasting your guys' time. Have a good day, and good luck in your game.